Hi, today our featured guest is Dr. Ramsis Ghaly. He's board certified in many topics which you're going to hear about, including neurosurgery and anesthesiology. I'm holding up one of his books, Christianity in the Brain. He's written several, and we'll talk about that, and the card on his free topics and seminars for the public. He also does a radio show, which we're going to be talking about. And sometimes he can be a bit controversial, so you might want to hear what he has to say. So joining us today is Dr. Ramsis Ghaly, is our featured guest. Dr. Ghaly, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we also have Sally Nutini, who's a registered nurse and a healing touch therapist, and Dr. Tony Kufis, who is a naturopath, reflexologist, and iridologist. So I think we have it all covered here. Okay, Dr. Ghaly, you've been on the show many times, so what would you like to talk about today?
There's several things. So the first one that comes into mind that I think there is a lot of need for people to know is the way healthcare system is going and where the neuroscience is happening is really have the patients be their own advocate, have the patient to know what they're up to, how they can help diagnose themselves what they have. What is the appropriate things to do, and what is the right surgery for them, and who they should go to, things like that. I think this is needed now more than ever, because the way that the corporate healthcare system is going is already assigning the patients and people what they should do for themselves, rather than give them the options with what you used to do. And this is important for the neuroscience part of it, because as we learn more and more about neurosurgery and neuroscience, you'll find that the best treatment is prevention, as well as the best way to prevent is by knowing your body better and to prevent it from having this illness, and if you do have it, try to diagnose it early. So really the bottom line of all of this is the patient should be aware of his body, as well as should be aware of how to help facilitate, make an early diagnosis as well as the treatment.
So is that why you're doing all these free seminars?
Yes, and I think that is more than ever, and it's a shame really, because when healthcare started, this was the mission for the hospitals and the mission for healthcare facilities, is actually to outreach the public and to teach the public. And I'm not seeing that often, and I'm not seeing that as effective as it go to outreach people. So far what I have done several things. First is I have a charity foundation called Ghaly Neuroscience Foundation, and basically what I do is every 2 months in a facility, where the address is 1971 Gowdy Road in Naperville, Illinois, 60543.
Which is near the mall.
Which is very near the mall. It's 59, is only one block of the North Aurora Avenue. And it's a big building, and the person is donating a big space for us. And basically what I've been doing is there is a calendar for the entire year, every 2 months, all the public for free. And I have actually a patient, his name is David Blotch, that I would love to thank him very much. I did his surgeries, but every time he'll cook and bake for the 2 days prior to the event and bring 2,200 homemade cookies.
So that's how doctors get paid now, like the old country doctors used to.
Right. Yeah. And then I will not know what I'm going to talk about. Usually the patients and the people come, and like the last event was in March, and I had 2 patients. One, we talked about the concussion, post-concussion sport injuries. She had an injury, and she wanted to talk about. And then another patient came and was worried a lot. She had a cervical disc, and she's been getting the runaround. So we displayed her films, and we talked about options. And then, so it becomes really what healthcare should be. It's an open book. You tell the patient what he has and what he or she has and what the treatment is. The second thing that we do, that I'm doing also, is something that with Natalie and Mary and Lynn, and what it is actually is beautiful, is every 2 months is 1 hour radio show that patient can actually call me with issues in neuroscience, and I can give them some instructions.
And they could ask you anything.
Anything, and yes. And then and you will be amazed to know that in neuroscience and in neurosurgery or medicine in general, a lot of patients and people have a lot of questions unanswered. And then when I ask them, why you're not really, do you know what actually they have done to you, and this is said no. The only time I saw the doctor is for a minute, but the only time I saw the nurse is for a few minutes, and they weren't aware of any of those. So really, more than ever, you would like to open a gate for people to come. And then as you can see also that there is books published with the stories of.
So let me give you the information as to when you can go to these seminars. Now there's one on May 24th, July 26th, September 27th, and November 16th. And the show is questions. You can call 815-254-7300. 815-254-7300. Fridays from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m.?
No, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. This for the radio show.
I was going to say, they've got
for the
PM
radio
on
show.
this, so we
Yeah.
want to make sure that you're not on all day long. When would you do surgery here?
Yeah, this is 1 hour in the morning in the radio show. Yeah.
On Fridays.
Yeah, and then so it will be one Friday prior to the event itself. And then the event will be from 4:30 to 7:30 in the Ghaly Road in Naperville. And if you miss it all, it's all in my website, and my website is GhalyNeurosurgeon.com. So Ghaly and Neurosurgeon Neurosurgeon.com. And you'll see all this information.
Well, you can also Google Ramsis, R-A-M-S-I-S, Ghaly, G-H-A-L-Y, to get it.
Yeah.
It's easier, right?
Yes.
In case they don't know how to spell the other. But you've talked about stroke awareness, brain tumors, traumatic brain injury, hydrocephalus, and malformation surgery, neuroscience, and other things. But you know, what are the things you're board certified in?
So I am, my training I enjoyed very much, and I will do it again and again. So I still believe that medicine is one, the human being is one, and if you're going to operate in the patient head, you should really know the rest of the body. What you see nowadays is very fragmented. We used to know, and we still do, to learn to work day and night, to be available for patients anytime. What you see now is they're restricting the hours of certain diseases, and in each one takes part of one for the head, one for this, and then there is no much.
And they don't
communication.
talk. That's the problem.
And what's interesting is they thought that they're going to solve these problems by having digital and electronic medical records, and actually not.
No.
If you ever get a form and see how you read electronic medical records, by the time you try to understand what they wanted to say, it's all like cut and paste and nothing is clear. So there is a lot of issues, and it's more than ever again that open communication and empower the patients and the knowledge. So for instance, I have a neurosurgery. My neurosurgery practice is in between Naperville and Aurora. It's in Fox Valley, close to Fox Valley Mall. It's 4260 West Brook Drive, Suite 127 in Aurora, Illinois. And what I see is I see second opinions. So one of the things that, since I was with you in the show last time, that is new now, that patients are suffering with correctable illnesses, but they're not getting the treatment because of the cost, but it's been told by their carriers and their people they work with that there is no treatment for this. And I can give you a lot of stories, but what's interesting for me to see that this is patient that has been 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and they have to come to me out of their plan to just look at their case and tell them what is the options out there. That is why patient empowerment, empower the patients to learn,
To know what's going
to know
on.
what they have and what can be done
But
for
you
them.
didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
What are the? I know you're humble about this, but what
Oh.
are you board certified in?
So I'm board certified in anesthesiology and neuroanesthesiology. This is back in late 1980s. And then in neurosurgery and neurocritical care and pain management and independent medical examiners. And I did so far I've been having about 45 years of training. of
And I don't think
continuous.
I've met another doctor that's board certified, and it's like 5 things.
Yeah, so
It's
yeah,
amazing.
it's
Wonderful.
good, and it's one for another though, one for another. So, and the more you learn, the more you think you don't know, and you wanted to know more.
Well, I know these two, Sally and Tony, must have questions to ask you. So, Sally, what have you been thinking while you've been sitting here? This is your first meeting with Dr. Ghaly.
Yes, it is. And Doctor, I was just wondering about these books and the controversy, because so far you've said things that are directly in target for the understanding of the patient's situation. So
The very good question, Sally. So these books started really was my mission back when I was in high school. That I found my mission is to try to mix faith and medicine, and try to. I felt that medical care is an honor, is a mission rather than a job, and it's an art. So I've been accumulating all of this, and in 2007 I talked to Karon, and I was actually for the first time I started to put it in writing. So the first book was about faith and medicine. It's all Christianity and the brain, because I do believe that the Christian faith or the spiritual faith, the connection between the spiritual faith and a human being is through the brain. Not through the liver, not through the heart, not through the spleen. Everything is related to the brain. The brain is actually what moves the entire organs. And it's very simple. The spleen of the horses probably have a much better heart than a human being, for instance. So we're not really valued as a human being as much as in the brain. So when I choose the title, the Christianity, because it's my faith, and the brain is because this is where both are connected together. So there is 5 volumes. The 5th is coming, and the 5th is actually going to be the largest. It's about the entire journey and the views of things. But the first book was about faith and medicine. So identified why faith is important. What is the neurosurgery and the neuroscience in the Bible? So I was able to identify that more than 90% of the miracles that Christ have done, they're all neurosurgical problems and neuroscience problem. Then after this, I identified who should be the doctor, who should be the nurse. And then at that time, if you open the book back in 2007, I identified completely wrong managements, and I call it the management codes to try to be polite. For instance, I identify something called the procedure management. Basically, somebody is interested in procedures only without looking at the patient. So deviations from all of this. So this is with faith and medicine. At the end of each book, I put live patient stories that patients themselves made a difference in their health. They actually, with their spiritual connections, with the faith, they were able to be moved to have their appropriate treatment. And this is really the issue. Like one of them, for instance, with a patient that had a disabling nerve problem in the leg, and he keep telling the doctor that this is what he has, this is what he had, and they keep looking at the completely different stories until he came and mentioned what you advocate to and others is just listen to the patient. And I found what it is, and I took it out, and it was exactly what the patient thought it is, and with a tumor, and I took it out. And believe me, believe it or not, 2 months later, after a disabling wife, her husband felt that he did his job by bringing the patient to my attention, and then she was cured and he died. So you'll see there is a lot of almost like the Almighty God works through things, and everything is happening for a reason. So in this book, you'll find at the end is why things happen to certain. The second book was Illness Journey. So Christianity in the Brain, Volume 2 is Illness Journey. And what it is every time people come to my office, or a lot of them they cry, they ask the question, why it's me, why I'm going through this and all of this. So what I mentioned in this book is the illness journey, and I chose the stories of patients and the stories from the Bible itself, what happens in the brain through all these illnesses, because we already identified the main organ in the human being is the brain. And the brain is the most underestimated organ in the human being. It's very fascinating. If you have a patient with a heart attack or chest pain, emergency room and physicians go upside down and try to flip over to take this patient. If the patient say, I have dizziness, it can be stroke, he will be on a waiting list for the next 10 hours. And so we think we're getting better.
True.
We think we're getting better, but we're not really. We're the same as equal as the Egyptian pharaohs back then. Egyptian pharaohs did not know what is the brain function for, so they took the brain out and threw it away. But they made the heart looks beautiful because they thought that the heart is the main organ, and it's not really. Then the third thing, the book is an important book for me for several reasons. Dealing with neurosurgery, dealing with patients that have terminal brain tumors and all of that. So there is a lot of them. To me, I feel they're visitors. So and their story is it's very sad if you take it in the angle of this. Plus, I lost my mother, and my mother has a lot to do with who I am. So I dedicated this book to her, and it's about the last hour journey. And in it, I put it verse by verse, a chapter by chapter, what the patient should do when they're about to die, so that you can make the dying journey is actually a joyful journey, or is an actually transition between one and another. Because in this book, I was able to balance between a spiritual brain and a physical brain. So a lot of things that people did not express or didn't know how to express it, I was able to express it just by looking purely to the science that I have dedicated my life to, 45 years, as well as the Bible that I have read many times. So I put them all together and was able to find the balance or the connections between the physical brain and spiritual brain. And you will be amazed to know from these stories that the physical brain and the spiritual brain are actually hand in hand. One becomes more active than another in a certain stage, and by dying of one, or the one goes down, the other one goes up. And that is why this is the book. It's really a joyful. If you take it and you read it step by step in the dying bed, or if you know there is a patient that is dying. The fourth book is a beautiful book. Is about the patient empowerment. It's 100 patient stories. I did not write this book primarily. Is a neutral reporter. It's a neutral reporter that interviewed Merle Olsen, her name, that interviewed each patient.
I'm in here.
Yeah.
Not as a
you're in
patient.
that book?
Not as a patient.
Yeah, and
as a nurse.
and interviewed the patient 100 with different stories, brain tumor. And the question was asked to the patient is, what was your story? How did you find out? And what is the treatment received? How satisfied you are? And what you advise other people? This is 100 patient stories. The one that I'm working on, it's been already 3 years now. It's about the entire journey in neuroscience, in my life story, but also in an actual patient stories. And then the healthcare views, because I have been through 5 management systems. I've been employed, I've been free, I've been employed again, so I witnessed all of this. And it's not really a lot of people.
Sally asked me how I met you. I heard you give a seminar on case management, because I also am a case manager. And the nurses that were there that worked with you at the hospital told me how great you were and how you never let them get away with anything. So I knew how smart you were then.
No, it's just
because you're there for your patients all the time, they said.
Yes, and then one thing that I need to clarify, the public, people, believe that Obama, Mitt Romney, Democrats, Republicans, the system in healthcare is different. Actually, it has nothing to do with the president. It has nothing to do really with what is the Democrats and the Republicans. The problem in the system is the greediness. This is the problem. What you really need, you need good people, good doctors, good nurses. You want the doctors and the nurses to actually take care of the patients. I'm going to tell you a story that is really horrible, but you should just know for a fact that there is patients get mislabeled with a different diagnosis in order to get treatment to support certain people, and it was millions of dollars. So it has nothing to do about Democrats or Republicans, it's about the inside the system. And yes, If you take care of the patients early, if you treat the patient early, is a cost effective.
Can I have that spine over there, Tony?
Yes.
Tony, did you have a question you wanted to ask Dr. Ghaly? Because I have one. You think about
Yes.
your question for a
I-
minute.
I-
What causes degeneration of the lumbar spine?
So degeneration of the lumbar spine is, we think, is because of our physical work throughout the years. We do many things in a different ways that put loads in the spine.
Yeah.
So as a give, we all have degenerative spine. So degenerative spine is a give. We have about 32 discs in our body that is like Cushing's. It takes a lot of the trauma in every day in and day out, and it degenerates the spine. The problem becomes if this degeneration starts to affect the nerves. Now, some people think it's the way we eat, some people think it's the way we build ourselves, but whatever the cause, the spine are meant to be degenerated.
Is it from injury, though, traumatic injuries?
You can say it's a minor injuries, repetitive over time. It's like carpal tunnel, repetitive motions, especially now people texting and things like that. So degenerative spine is to
Well,
happen.
how would you get that, though, from sitting down? I mean, what do you do that's repetitious enough to
we
injure
do
the lumbar?
Actually, we do a lot of things, but we underestimate what we do. And
Yeah.
if you wanted to know how much we do, just ask a patient that have an ankle sprain and cannot move. It tells you how thousands of times he moves during the days and the day in and day out.
You don't really.
We do a lot of repetitive physical work.
The real miracle is when the body works right, because there's
Yes.
a million things going on.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Dr. Tony.
I had two thoughts, and one related to the brain. What your understanding of the pineal gland? My understanding is that is the antenna to the energy from God to the physical body.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
So scientifically speaking, pineal gland is good for the growth, and after age of 16, it has no job. So if I am during the surgery, I decided to take the pineal gland out, nothing will happen. So this is really the bottom line. There is many theories about pineal gland. The pineal gland is good. We think it's good until age of 16. After that, it has no job. I think the issue, the things that you'll find coming into the brain now is not a one-party job, one part of the job.
Yes.
A lot of the new functions of the brain now, they think is an integrated special format and patterns of the billions of circuits acts together in a certain way. So for instance, after spending millions of dollars to do research in the brain to see what makes a difference between a patient awake and a patient asleep, or a human being awake or asleep, they found out that really is not, we used to think the hypothalamus is important for this, or there's a nucleus somewhere in the thalamus. Now they think it's actually a global function of the brain from front to back, different circuit. And when a special pattern comes and be perceived with these billions of circuits, is the time patient to wake up. And I see that when I wake up patients from anesthesia, believe it or not. And this is what interests me about anesthesia, because you can see them sussed out of it. It's almost comatose, and over seconds like this, all of a sudden they wake up as if nothing happened. So it's not really one part like the pineal gland, like the pituitary gland, or the circuits. It's actually the pattern and the global network connections.
All
I think
together.
your anesthesiologist is more important than your surgeon.
This is a very good, and actually
'Cause
very
you're
smart.
hanging in the balance.
Yeah, not only that, very smart patients will actually indicate that, and it's true because your information, the new information now we know about this is, if you have a baby that exposed to surgery under general anesthesia below 3 years old, the baby may have some sort of development issues later on. So now the surgery is below 3 years old. They think it should be done when the baby really needs the surgery. There's also a lot of studies over the years that have indicated that the medication, the anesthetics that puts patient to sleep, they're also neurotoxic. They're also
Yes.
toxic into the brain.
That's why I like local.
And no, but also if you think about it, people in the same talking, people take drugs that they didn't need, cocaine, heroin, all of this stuff, all addictive drugs. all of this can cause
Have you heard
toxin.
anything about that? There was a neurosurgeon that actually removed a brain tumor from a woman through her nose lately, instead of having to go in through.
Yeah, but this has been since 1900, early 1900.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well, they
this
said
is
it was new.
no. You know, it's funny that you talk about this because there's another patient of mine that I'm in a Facebook too. I love the Facebook because patients can email me things. So here is one that emailed me. Somebody said, there is a British Iranian neurosurgeon that discovered you can do brain tumor, take it out while the patient is awake. Actually, this is all done in the early 1900s. And basically, it's not difficult at all. It's very easy. This is the bottom of the brain here. So if you go through the nose, you go all the way here. And then it's the roof of the nose, and you can take the brain tumor out without going
Well,
through.
I'm telling you right now that God forbid, but if that happens to me, that's the way you better do it. Under a local.
No, but actually,
nice to know.
When I do brain surgery, take a brain tumor out, patients go home next day. It's really when you know exactly where is the corridor and you don't injure the tumor.
The other thing.
So I need to give credit to Harvey Cushing and the early fathers in the 1930s for discovering all these techniques.
Okay, we only have 2 minutes left. I told you I'd let you. You're going to have to give him a brief answer to his second question.
And second question is something that's been popular is the brain surgery and the brain injuries from these athletes, and what is your opinion and feeling about that?
So this is a very good question. It's very hot in its topic because repetitive injuries and concussions can cause a terminal problem in the future, whether it's Parkinsonism or dementia. Yes, and you have to take it seriously. So if a patient, the severity of the concussion, is how long the patient been out of it or have no memory of it. And if it's repeated again, you better stop what you're doing. And you know what is really fascinates me? That there is a lot of motivation to get the kids into sports, to do all the sports, but yet by the age of 20, they have knee replacement, hip replacement, the back is good, messed up. And why? We have computer, we have textings, we have a lot of beautiful things that we can put the talents of the kids. So I'm glad that there is some sort of regulation to the concussions in the brain.
Okay. If you want more information, we've been talking to Dr. Ramsis Ghaly. He is a neurosurgeon, and you can get information on him at Ghaly. Is it Neurosurgery?
Yeah,
right?
no, GhalyNeurosurgeon.com. My phone number is 630-978-7500, and all the information you find it. And I would love to see you in May 24. From 4:30 to 7:30, and bring your questions, bring your concerns, and we'll be happy to help you.
And he's right near Fox Valley, right?
Yeah, by Fox Valley Mall.
You got to go in off of Aurora Street, though,
59.
right? 59 in Aurora Street, because it really is kind of back a little bit. I mean, people might get lost.
Yeah, but the instructions in my website, in my phone as well, and I would like also to say one final thing, that I would like to thank Karon Gibson. Every time she invites us, that I'm just so fascinated with her energy and her hospitality. And thank you for inviting me.
Just hang around. We all need you. Okay. All right. Thank you to Dr. Ghaly, Sally Nutini, and Dr. Tony Kufas. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.